Welcome to the Retirement Halftime Show. I am your host, Alexander Joyce, President, CEO of ReJoyce Financial. You would not play the second half of a game the same way you did the first, especially if you've got the lead. As it relates to retirement, and many of you have that lead, so what do? We maintain it. Maintain your lead in retirement. Stick around. We've got a great show for you. I've always said, well-defined expectations are the roadmap to a prosperous relationship. The takeaway is that as they were making these moves over their working years or still working years, that money's never been taxed. And the fact is, when you're climbing this mountain, you may have thought you never needed a plan. You may have thought you never needed an advisor, right? And now you're looking out and you're saying, well, can I do it myself?
The Retirement Halftime Show starts right now. Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement. The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back, and what we want to do for a few moments is really describe and walk through what our process looks like. You've probably been watching our show for quite some time and maybe have yet take that leap of faith to come into our office and sit down. And a lot of times we understand that 73% of individuals almost retired or in retirement have yet to do just that, sit down with an advisor of any kind. So let's just kind of walk through A to Z of what our process looks like. I've always said, well-defined expectations are the roadmap to a prosperous relationship. So what you'll see is we're going to spend a lot of time on step number one, because I really believe firmly that if step number one, the discovery, is done very well, then I think what we'll establish, if you will, is a trust factor. After all, that's exactly what this is, right? So step number one, it says discovery, but basically what that means is it's our interview process. You know, the fact is, I'm sure you wouldn't work with everybody. It's the same with us. We're very particular about the clients that we work with. We work on what's called a value proposition. If we can't add value to your life, we simply can't do business outside of dollars and cents, okay? So some of those things, what we really look at is goals, right? What is the purpose of our meeting? What is the purpose of doing business together? What is the purpose of your retirement? Our firm is purpose-based. What are the goals? What are we trying to achieve? We're full service. So not just taxes or estate planning or wealth management. We want to understand how we can work together and add value to your life. That's going to take questions. That's going to take getting things off your chest. That's going to take honesty from both parties. You're going to ask us questions. We're going to ask you questions. That's simply the way it has to be, right? Once we get past the trust factor, if you will, or the discovery, we're going to gather data. If step number one is done well, right, well enough, then you're going to feel more comfortable about releasing some of your personal private information to us. When we gather that data, what we're looking to do is we're looking to evaluate it. When you're working with us, you're working with a team. Okay, one thing to understand, and this is clear, is that when we take on a client, we look at these clients as projects, because we within our firm, we have to make sure that all undivided attention is built really servicing you right there. That's going to go into that evaluation process. Once we do a really good job of evaluating that data, understanding where the value truly is, then we can move on to step number 4. When there's a recommendation given, you're going to understand exactly where we are in our recommendation process. That could be, from a mile per hour perspective in terms of risk tolerance. You think that you're driving 45 miles an hour, but your portfolio is really driving 75. Or it could be that, you simply want to slow down your risk tolerance to better focus on income producing when it comes to the overall retirement plan. We could be focusing on estate planning as opposed to tax efficiencies. We could be looking at Roth conversions as opposed to estate planning or wealth preservation. It really doesn't matter, but if there's an area of focus, that's where we're going to go in that recommendation process, if you would. Once we recommend, it's strictly up to you, step number 5, if you would, to implement. When we implement a plan, again, everything is going to be organized. Everything is going to be right there in a very clean, concise order. When you understand what that implementation process looks like, what's very important to understand is as soon as we implement, when we have this plan, if you will, a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, we're right here. Step number 6 is that review process. When we do a review, it's important to understand what that looks like and the frequency in which that happens. A lot of times our clients, when we first implement a plan, it's quarterly. I mean, we've got clients that we've had for many, many years, and they're quarterly clients, right? They don't miss a quarterly visit because they feel comfortable with that. As a matter of fact, they do that because they understand, not just based on the economy, but their life is changing. Right? They're spending more time with their grandkids. They're traveling abroad. They're doing more things. They're checking off the list of the bucket list, the checking off things on that bucket list. But more than anything, they want a sense of security, and they want to make sure what they're doing is the right thing. They want to make sure that we still understand what the end game is, and that there's still that wealth to leave to the legacy or the next generation, if that is something that's of importance to them. So I hope that this has been more than anything, the takeaway would be, I hope that this has been simple, because again, well-established expectations in the very beginning is the roadmap to a prosperous relationship. And that is the fundamental values of our firm. That's you, okay? So I hope this has been very helpful. We look forward to your call. Don't hesitate. Take action in your retirement. Call today. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President, CEO of ReJoyce Financial. Getting the education you need for a successful retirement is key. That's why I've written my second book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want. The book covers topics like identifying the income gaps, new ideas for investing, taxes and retirement, your legacy beyond dollars and cents, and much more. I've written this in an easy to understand format so that just about anyone can get the most out of it. To get a copy of ReJoyce in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want, you can go to Amazon. But if you're one of the first callers, you can get a complimentary signed copy of this book just by scheduling a no-cost, no-obligation visit. This book is packed with information that will help you get the most out of your retirement years. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now. Education is key. And let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back. I'm Sevilla Beam, and I'm here with Alexander Joyce. We're learning more about his book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement. And we want to talk right now about Chapter 12, which is about the Roth conversion. And there's a lot of information out there about Roth conversions. Who is it good for? When is it good for? Give us a little bit more about what we can find in the book about the Roth conversion.
Sure. That's so interesting because it's interesting to me. Right, and most people don't know this, but I have no problem sharing my personal story, right, and kind of where I'm from. And one time, many years ago, somebody asked me when in terms of looking at how a Roth conversion could work. Okay, they said, and it took me a while to really understand this, and probably some people have heard this as well. They said, "Would you rather pay taxes on a seed, or would you rather pay taxes on a harvest?" And when you really kind of think about that, and why it relates to me is because when I was young, I grew up on a very large farm. I grew up on about almost 700 acres, believe it or not. We had livestock. I grew up baling hay, very blue-collared family. My father was a GMer. My mother was a union bricklayer, right? And so that kind of took me back, and I said, well, let me think about that for a second. And how does that even work in conjunction with money? How should I be looking at that, right? And so the reason I put it in writing is because when looking at a Roth conversion, it's just that. When we look at somebody's assets, or someone brings in a pile of money, and they think they have a plan, they bring in all their statements, and they bring in their portfolio, and we start the analysis process. It's 9 times out of 10. Most people, and you are CPA, so you can relate to this, right? You see this, we both see this every day, right? Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, the lion's share of somebody's money, assets, is pre-tax dollars.
Absolutely.
Right? They spent 30 or 40 years maybe at the same job. Maybe they moved around a little bit. Maybe as they were moving, they took one 401k, they merged it into another. They took another 401k and they stuck it in an IRA. This IRA is not being managed. They got this other 401k. It starts to become a little scattered, mm-hmm. right? And the takeaway is that as they were making these moves over their working years or still working years, that money's never been taxed. That money's never been taxed. It's accumulated on a tax-deferred basis. They got wealthy over the years because they're getting compounded interest, right? Interest on the money that they're deferring, interest on the money they would have paid in taxes, interest on interest, and it just over time accumulates. And they bring this in, and then they have this bucket of pre-tax dollars, and they have a very small bucket of after-tax dollars or tax-free dollars or Roth assets. And so when we look at this, and we know that taxes over time could go up, and we know that they're going to be using these dollars, paying taxes on these dollars, and they have very little tax-free assets or a bucket we can use for an alternative asset class, or a bucket we can turn to for when there is more volatility, or a bucket that isn't subject to RMD, or a bucket that could convert or pass in a different way, right? All these are benefits of Roth IRAs, but yet many people have very, very little. And so we think understanding the difference between a conversion and a contribution, we start to look at the tax analysis to see if they're a good candidate for it. The issue is when people say, well, all those are great benefits, why don't I just take all my money and put it over into Roth IRA? It doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't work that way. So the math, and why working with us, the math would look like easy to say, right? Easier to say as opposed to done, is, well, you should convert as much as you can, but at the same time, the question becomes how much for how long, right? What does that analysis look like? And it is a calculator or an Excel spreadsheet type of math. Sure. It is a bracket. It is a risk tolerance. There is a lot that goes into that. And the reason that a lot of people are just kind of staying away from this, maybe they don't know how to do it, or they don't want to take on the challenge, because it is. It is an area that must be done, and it's an area that has to be, a lot of things in life aren't perfect, right? But this is an area that is so focused because you can't redo it, right? And once you spill over into a next tax bracket, we don't want to say, hey, sorry about that.
Right.
Doesn't work that way, does it?
Sorry about that extra 7% in taxes.
It doesn't work that way.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that, right? And we don't want that. And so, we can do it. We do it, and we spend time doing it. But we have to make it as close to perfect as possible. Would agree, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like everything else in retirement planning. It's so individualized. And a lot of times what we recommend for our clients, if they have questions about these Roth conversions, a lot of times what we're looking at is, lower income years when it makes the most sense, because we've got to remember those Roth conversions are now taxable dollars. If we want to convert them into that other tax-free bucket, there's got to be some taxes there in order to get it there. So we've got to be really mindful of that and make sure we're doing the proper planning on both sides.
Absolutely. I agree.
If you have questions about Roth conversions and how they might fit into your own retirement plan, feel free to look the book up on Amazon, ReJoyce in Your Retirement, or reach out to Alex's office, schedule an appointment with him, and you can leave with a free copy. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President and CEO of ReJoyce Financial. If you're in retirement or near retirement, with all life's changes, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Managing expectations is the foundation of a prosperous relationship. Our goal is simple. We want to get to know you. So pick up the phone and make an appointment for a complimentary visit. There is no cost, no obligation. We simply want to get to know you and see if we can add value to your life in retirement. We can discuss topics like income planning, sequence of return risk, taxes, and estate planning, Social Security maximization, and much more. Let us help you develop strategies that can develop a successful retirement. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now, schedule a visit, and let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back, and in today's segment, we want to focus on what we call two distinct phases of anybody's financial life. As you can tell, we've got a mountain here, and we use this concept a lot. The reason why is because, when you ask somebody, how's retirement going? They say, well, I never had enough time. I don't know how I had enough time to work. And we understand that, but we don't want to lose focus or sight to what got them there. Okay, so we want to kind of look at this description here, and we'll just draw it out for you. You can see there's no words on the screen, but follow me. When we first start working, okay, up here, we're climbing this mountain, and I've always referenced this to be like Mount Everest. A lot of energy, a lot of adrenaline climbing this mountain, just like you, right? 20, 30, 40 years ago, if you will, and many of you are still climbing this mountain. The goal is to be where? Right there at the very top. The goal of any mountain is to climb it, be at the top. The goal or fighting to reach anything in life is a struggle, if you would. Hence the fact we call this the retirement halftime show, right? So let's say we're in this first distinct phase of your financial life. The goal is exactly probably where you are. The goal is to accumulate wealth. In doing that, we understand that it's going to take a lot of risk. It's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of sweat, blood, energy, tears, right? There's going to be debt. There's going to be a lot of challenges along the way. Mount Everest, right? A lot of adrenaline climbing it, where most deaths, if you will, happen is on your way down. That's where there's injury. The same as the second half, if you will, of your financial life. Look at this as the accumulation phase. Reach the top, being retirement. Coming down that mountain, or coming down, is the second distinct phase of your financial life. That happens to be the distribution process. What we should really understand is this. We all, as climbing this mountain in that first phase, could rely on one thing. One thing is a fact. We had our employer to really rely on, right? Your efforts to make money. You had your earned income. And as you matured at that job, or slightly maybe changed jobs along the way, your earned income, or your ability to earn income, was greater. It got greater and greater, and you watched your Social Security get larger and larger because it's based on the last 10 or the highest 10 working years of your life. So when we reach this mountain, one thing when you're coming down that has changed significantly is maybe not your physical effort towards, or your attitudes towards going to work, but it's your desire. Really, I mean, your friends are retiring, you've got relatives that are retiring, it's the American dream. So the fact is, we look out there, right? And we understand as we look out, it seems exciting, right? As of course, there's a lot of emotion that comes into that, and a lot of it is anxiety. And I think the anxiety translates to the biggest fear in retirement, which is, do I have enough? Will I outlive my money in retirement? What if things that are outside of my control happen? What if it's health related to me, to him, to she, to I, right? Those are the concerns that people have. And we've approached or possibly checked a lot of those risks or concerns off when you're watching these shows. But the fact is, it can be scary. And the fact is, when you're climbing this mountain, you may have thought you never needed a plan. You may have thought you never needed an advisor, right? And now you're looking out and you're saying, well, can I do it myself? And I think one thing that we really need to take away and realize is, if you're questioning that for one moment, the answer is no. Shift that risk to a professional. Maybe it's our firm, maybe it's not. But a lot of times what you want to do is sit down with an advisor, at least get the education that you may need to implement a plan yourself. Planning is very important to the retirement goal, if you will. We always say plan first, invest later. Okay, common sense, not always common practice. But the goal is to check off things. One of the biggest things that you want to look at is accumulating your own income, generating your own income, preservation of principal, legacy planning, longevity risk, making sure that we understand the risks associated with retirement, tax risk, legislative risk. There's all things that we don't even think about that impact us significantly, because again, when you were climbing this mountain, approaching retirement, you had W-2 income. Your employer was taking out the taxes. When you generate your own income, who's taking out those taxes? Is it your advisor telling you what tax bracket you're in? Or is it your CPA just filing the taxes and hoping that you'll figure it out on your own? Getting a true tax analysis or a plan in place would do wonders. If anything, it's going to give you peace of mind to know one thing, and one thing certain. The goal is to make sure that you prosper in your retirement. Do the things that you deserve to do in your retirement, and be sure that you never outlive your money in retirement. If you've got any questions about how these distinct phases in your retirement plan affect your goals, do not hesitate to give us a call. Take action now. Your retirement matters. We look forward to hearing from you. Stay tuned, there's more show to come.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
This week's tax tip is about the child tax credit and other dependent credit. Under the new tax law, the child tax credit doubled from $1,000 to $2,000. However, there's also another credit called the other dependent credit. That credit is good for any other family member that you can claim on your return as a dependent. If you have a dependent who you paid more than 50% of their living expenses in the prior year, you're eligible to claim them as an other dependent for a $500 credit on your tax return for the prior year. Oftentimes, this may be a parent that you care for, or maybe another child in the home, like a stepchild. If you think that this applies to you, or you have questions about the other dependent credit, feel free to reach out to our office or visit our website. That's this week's tax tip on the other dependent credit and the child tax credit.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President, CEO of ReJoyce Financial. Getting the education you need for a successful retirement is key. That's why I've written my second book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want. The book covers topics like identifying the income gaps, new ideas for investing, taxes and retirement, your legacy beyond dollars and cents, and much more. I've written this in an easy to understand format so that just about anyone can get the most out of it. To get a copy of ReJoyce in Your Retirement, Everything You Need to Know to Get Everything You Want, you can go to Amazon. But if you're one of the first callers, you can get a complimentary signed copy of this book just by scheduling a no-cost, no-obligation visit. This book is packed with information that will help you get the most out of your retirement years. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now. Education is key. And let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Welcome back. I'm Sevilla Beam, and I'm here with Alexander Joyce. We're learning more about his book, ReJoyce in Your Retirement. And Alex, I want to talk to you a little bit today about Chapter 4, Maximizing Your Social Security Benefits. I know in our office, it's a question we get a lot as people get closer and closer to retirement age. And really, it's something we've got to look at as a whole financial plan. So tell us a little bit more about those Social Security benefits.
I agree, 100%. And I think Social Security is one of those pieces that is missed, right? It's commonly missed, and I think that there's not enough education. And the thing about it, as you said, right, from the tax perspective, in a list of items needed to create a full financial plan, I think Social Security kind of goes on the back burner. And I think clients are really left to kind of figure it out. And I think there's still questions. At least we see those, right, in the office every day. Mm-hmm. Common questions would be, will it be there for me? And I think that's one of the biggest issues I say, why people take it at 62, which we bring up in the book. And I think that people are still confused as to what provisional income is on Social Security, right? They still kind of look at it in conjunction with their marginal tax bracket, right? They don't understand how to put that together, and rightfully so. A lot of people shouldn't, mm-hmm. right? It shouldn't be left to them to figure that calculation out, if you will. And I think that really, and we talk about this in the book as well, that people think that maximizing their Social Security benefits is the same as optimizing their Social Security benefits. And in fact, those are two completely separate things. Maximization would be just naturally waiting till you're 70 to get the most out of those benefits, yep. right? Where optimization is really sitting with the client, understanding their full financial picture, understanding how Social Security works in conjunction with an overall income plan, so we can start to fill those gaps, as we mentioned in some of the chapters in the book. So we can start to understand what that goal really is and make sure that we can do the proper analysis long term to make sure that we can give them a projection or a number in terms of making sure they don't outlive their money.
Absolutely.
And Social Security is a big piece of that.
It absolutely is. And I know with our clients, it's not just Social Security, like you said. We've got to take into consideration their whole picture, what other sort of financial plan they have, because that's all going to factor into especially the taxation of their Social Security benefits, which is another way for us to optimize them. So I think that's all very important information, and it needs to be looked at closely. And there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of people talking about what's best, but really sitting down and diving into what it's going to look like for you is very important.
100% agree. And I think that what most people have to understand when they're looking to hire an advisor, or they're doing the interview process of what advisory firm is best for them, I think when they get to that fork in the road, if you will, understanding the proper questions to ask their advisor in that interview process to make sure that the advisor can articulate and educate them as to the benefits, current benefits, and stay ahead of current or future changes with the administration to give future advice, because that's very powerful.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you're in an optimized or a maximized strategy, spousal benefits, restricted application, any of these changes, right? Because Social Security, as we know, from a tax perspective, is taxed up to 85%. Right? And there's probably still 81 different ways to take it. The administration legally can't give you an advice when you go stand in line for several hours as to the maximization of your own personal benefits, whether that's spousal, whether that's widow's benefits, whether that's divorce benefit, whatever it is, and how unique it is to your situation. You got to get in front of it. And so I think that what the book allows is kind of a roadmap as to what questions should I ask, at least what from a foundation purpose or principle, what should I know without other people teaching me? So I at least have some leverage as to how to hold or conduct that interview process.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we want that chapter to do.
That's great. And I know there's a lot of confusing terminology surrounding Social Security. So if you have questions about that, you can get the book on Amazon. You can also make an appointment by reaching out to Alex's office, and you can leave with a free copy that day as well. We'll be right back.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
I'm Alexander Joyce, President and CEO of ReJoyce Financial. If you're in retirement or near retirement, with all life's changes, it never hurts to get a second opinion. Managing expectations is the foundation of a prosperous relationship. Our goal is simple. We want to get to know you. So pick up the phone and make an appointment for a complimentary visit. There is no cost, no obligation. We simply want to get to know you and see if we can add value to your life in retirement. We can discuss topics like income planning, sequence of return risk, taxes, and estate planning, Social Security maximization, and much more. Let us help you develop strategies that can develop a successful retirement. If you want to know more about successful retirement strategies, then call now, schedule a visit, and let us help you rejoice in your retirement.
The Retirement Halftime Show. Maintain your lead in retirement.
Thank you so much for watching today's Retirement Halftime Show. If you've got any questions about today's show, give us a call, go to our website, and remember, maintain your lead in retirement. We'll see you next time.